Hello, my name is Mandy Spang, and this is my freshman seminar online final exam for the SWOT analysis. Thank you so much for watching. Hi, so to talk a little bit about myself, I grew up around the Seattle area. I graduated from Shorecrest High School back in 2006. I took a little bit of time off from school and didn't go straight to college. School wasn't really my thing back then. And then back in 2010 and 11, I worked at Yellowstone National Park in a restaurant on the lake called the Lake House. And the second year I worked there, I ended up meeting my now husband. From there, we've lived in a couple of spots. We moved to Idaho and then Ohio, North Carolina, and now we are in South Carolina. We've got three beautiful little kids, Lincoln, Gannon, and Isabel, and they are just the best. And that picture there is of me and my husband on top of Mount Washburn, a hike that we did while we were working there. And now I am at Greenville Tech going for my AA, and the goal is to then transfer to Clemson University in 2 or 3 years, and while I'm at Clemson, work towards my bachelor's in parks and tourism management to one day get a job, hopefully in a national park. Hi, alright, so to start off with strength number 1, I chose relator, and with that strength, I formed really good relationships with people that I work with or have gone to school with back in high school, and I just get along with so many people so well. I tend to relate to a lot of people or just understand where they're coming from so I can have that relationship with them, because having good relationships with those people that you are around every single day is very important. Otherwise, that environment isn't good. So being able to relate to those people and have them trust me and I trust them, I think is a very important skill to have for work and for school. The next strength that I chose was empathy. And I chose empathy because it's a good skill to have that apparently I have. And empathy is important for everyone to have. You should understand where people are coming from. Sort of relates to the previous strength, and that for creating good relationships with people at school, at home, at work, just out and about in public, just being able to understand that we all come from different walks of life. We all have, we all are from different areas, and we've grown up differently. And so to be able to respect those around us, whether you believe in or you agree with things that they do or say, doesn't always matter. You should still just understand that they have the right to have those points of view and to not judge them, and to have empathy towards all those people in our lives. And that's a good thing to do, to have. Alright, so for strength number 3, I chose self-motivation. This is something that I have a lot of. 3 big ones are right there on the screen. Those are my 3 little kids, Lincoln, Gannon, and Belle. And they are my biggest self-motivator to do this for them, to show them that mommy can do this. And if you set your mind to something, you can accomplish anything you want to. I also want to be able to get really good grades and be able to transfer to Clemson, because without good grades I won't be able to do that. And so I need to be able to get my AA here, even though I don't plan on actually using the AA itself. I need that to be able to move on to Clemson to get my bachelor's in Parks and Recreation, so that way I can have my dream job working in a national park somewhere in this country, and having all of those self motivators and things behind me pushing me to do a good job at this, and be able to prove to my husband and my children and myself that put your mind to something, you can accomplish anything you want. So for the fourth and final strength for this SWOT analysis, I have chosen deliberative. I chose that because I am a very deliberative person. I say what I mean and I mean what I say. I like to plan things. I like to have things in order. I like to have checklists for things. Example would be when we like to go camping as a family, and I always make a checklist to make sure that we have everything ready to go, and as we put things in the trailer, it gets check marked off to make sure that I know that it's there. I don't need to go back and double check looking for it. And being deliberative means I'm very reliable. I show up on time. If you ask me to do something, if you're asking me to be somewhere at a certain time, I am there. I am early. I also tend to be a thinker. I think about things. I don't just jump into things. I'll take a step back and process it and make sure that it's a good decision, the right decision, and that means for school and for work and for home life, that things aren't just done, willy-nilly, that there's a rhyme and a reason to everything that we do and everything that we say. So for weakness number 1, I have chosen self-awareness. Why and how do I deal with these? Why do I think that self-awareness is a weakness for myself? That is because I don't always focus on myself. I am not always in tune with what's going on inside. I have 3 little kids. I have a husband. I have a home to take care of. Those, to me, come first before myself. So if there's something going on, I just push it aside and tell myself I'm just going to deal with it later, think about it later. So I'm not upfront with those things with myself, so I can tackle them head on to start with, which is not a good thing. I also tend to be a people pleaser. I always want to make others happy before myself. I'd rather spend money on other people before myself. I'd rather spend time doing things for other people before doing things for myself. And how can I fix that? How can I make self-awareness less of a weakness for myself? I can focus on myself. I can take time. I can tell my family that I need a minute. I need some time away. I need some time to myself. I can also have that self-discipline to do that, to make sure that myself is a priority to myself. And that's really hard, especially when you're a mom, because your kids always come first, or at least they should always come first before yourself, which means that you get pushed aside, and that's not good. For weakness number 2, I chose procrastination. Procrastination is something that I have always struggled with. Even when I was younger, I always put things off till the last minute. And it's now, especially doing schoolwork, procrastination is even a bigger problem for me. I have 3 small kids, like I've said before, and I'm married. I have a husband. I have a house to take care of. It's very easy to say that the housework needs to get done, or the kids need a bath, or the kids, go read them a book or play with them, which is all important stuff, don't get me wrong, but those are all also things that help me to put off work that needs to be done, like schoolwork. When I need to study, when there is another assignment due, it's very easy to just say, hey, no, I'm not going to do it right now because I'm going to spend time cleaning, or I'm going to play on my phone, which is another huge distraction. It's a huge source of procrastination for me. It's my phone. I always get sucked into Facebook or Instagram looking at photos and videos of people, and you tell yourself it's just going to be 5 minutes, just going to be 10 minutes, and a half an hour later, there you are still looking at your phone, not doing schoolwork. So procrastination, definitely a weakness for myself. And how can I make procrastination less of an issue? Be more organized, give myself rewards when I get an assignment done, stand up and go do something fun, go play on my phone, go play with my kids. I can also work while the kids are sleeping. That's a big one. If I just make sure that I get that done while they're not awake, that's so much easier to stay focused, because they're not up around asking for snacks or the TV or telling me that they're bored and they need something to do. So doing that and waiting for them to be asleep or while they're at school, that would be a really good use of getting rid of procrastination, if that's even possible. For weakness number 3, I chose social skills. And for a lot of people, social skills is not something that they struggle with, but it is something that I tend to struggle with sometimes. I've always been a very shy person from a very small child. I used to hide behind my mom's legs, even when we were around family members. I never liked speaking up in class. I always made my little sister go talk to people for me. She's very outgoing and I wasn't, and still I'm not really outgoing. Definitely more of an introverted type of person. I like to just stay in and hang out with my family. I don't always want to go out and be around a bunch of people. So that means that I'm lacking sometimes in that social aspect. And that's going to be a big weakness in the job that I want to have, because the dream job of working in a national park as a park guide or something very similar to that would mean working with people every single day, all day long. So you need to be able to interact with people and talk to them and communicate well verbally and have good body language and all of that. And I need to be able to try to fix that. And how can I fix that? Well, I can take some public speaking classes and presentation classes at school. I could also go out more. COVID, definitely for all of us, kept us all inside for a very long time. And so for the last few years, a lot of us haven't wandered away from our homes. But now that we can, taking the kids out and the husband out, just going out and making friends and being out in the big world that we live in definitely could help improve that. I could also go to school. All the classes so far that I'm taking are online, so I'm not around other students like other people. So I could find and seek out some school events and things that are happening and go and meet and chat with other students and help to realize that there are other kids like me, other people like me that are doing this from home and that it's hard. So yeah, having and improving on my social skills is definitely something that I'm gonna need to work on for my future self, for my future career. For opportunity number one, I picked being a customer service personnel at a nearby state park. This beautiful state of South Carolina that we live in has a lot of state parks, and there are several that are near us here in Greer. And I think that would be a really fun thing to do. I have worked customer service in the past. That wouldn't be new for me, but I've never worked at a state park before or anything like that, other than when I was at Yellowstone, but that I was working in a restaurant. So this would be working in a check-in booth, possibly, or at like the gift shop or an information desk, helping people find their way around where they need to go, and just communicating with them and helping them learn about the area and what the park has to offer, and all of those good things that come with being that person at the desk. And I think that having that type of job, one, there are several that are close to home, so that would be a big plus, that it wouldn't be a long commute or drive. I could do that while we live here. It's also, you tend to meet a lot of new people. People drive in from lots of different areas to go to state parks, so it's not necessarily going to be only the folks that live here. It could be folks from the coast or up north or down south who drove in, and this is possibly the first time that they've been in this area, so you get to kind of introduce them to where they are. And having this type of job would also help in the aspect of just learning kind of the behind the scenes of how a state park might work and operate, which then would possibly be the same way that a national park would actually do it as well. So having this job opportunity would be really, really cool and really fun, and I hope that I get to do that one day. Okay, so the second opportunity that I chose would be campground host. I think that being a campground host somewhere would be really fun. It is usually a retired couple that is, or usually are the campground hosts at places. But I think that maybe I could have the job maybe similar to that. Maybe not the actual host, but a campground staff on some level. That, working at a campground, there's probably always something to do. There's sites that need to be cleaned and bathrooms that need to be cleaned, and for instances in the picture there, I chose that. That's a picture that someone took at Yellowstone National Park, where there are 2 bison wandering through their campground. So I'm sure that is always an issue coming up with them just wandering through. But it's their home, and we are in their space in that situation. So being a host there would be probably pretty exciting and always keep you on your toes. Being a campground host would mean that you get to meet a lot of new people. There are people in and out of there every day almost, probably. And you'd also get to be outside all the time, which would be amazing. Being outside is just so fun, and the fresh air and all of that would just be so good and so healthy. It also possibly could be a volunteer opportunity, so maybe it's something that I could accomplish while going to school. So I'm just doing that in some spare time, so I kind of get to learn some new skills and really see whether or not working in that type of situation is something that I want to do. The threat that I chose for this would be if they defunded the national parks. That would be a huge problem, especially since the job I want to have is in a national park. So if somehow, in some way, the government wasn't able to fund them anymore, that would be a huge issue. Would mean that they'd have to cut back on staff. They wouldn't be hiring people anymore and letting the ones that they have go. A lot of the services that they provide, a lot of the programs that they put on would probably have to stop, which means that those staff don't get to have that job anymore, which means I don't get to have that job anymore. They'd also possibly have to close parks, if not shorten hours, which then also leads to less staff. So defunding the national parks would be a major issue, not just for me, but for our country as well, because we need our national parks. They help keep those areas alive. They help maintain land that needs to be protected, really. And without them, who knows if our kids would even know what a bison is. But because there's a huge piece of land in the middle of Wyoming that isn't allowed to be built upon, those bison have somewhere to live. And they're not as small as deer, so they can't just go and find new homes anywhere else. They need a lot of space. So defunding our national parks would be not just a problem for myself, but all of those animals that live there as well. And for our country, it would just be really, really sad if that were to happen. So cross our fingers and pray that that never happens, because who knows. Okay, so in conclusion, for my SWOT analysis, I have learned that I have some good strengths, but I also have some decent weaknesses, and that is not bad. We all have weaknesses. It's what makes us human. But I've found ways to work with those, to improve them, and hopefully try to make those a little bit smaller. I also need to keep up with my strengths, because if you don't, then those could turn into sort of a weakness in some degree. And I also need to make sure that I'm staying organized with school, that I'm staying organized with my home, that my kids are a priority, but that I am also a priority. No matter what's going on, I need to take time for myself. I also should go out and look to see what possible jobs could be out there that could help me gain the experience that I need for the job in a national park. Because just because I want that job, and just because I might have a degree with some writing on it that says I can do it, doesn't mean that I really can. So I should probably go find something where I can hone those skills really, and make sure that that is the job that I want, that I want to be able to work in a national park or a state park and be with people every day and meet new people and be in the outdoors, which would be such an awesome thing, just to be able to be outside every day. I'm inside all the time with my kids, so having a job that's outside would be a nice break. Even in the winter, I think it would be a great thing to have. So thank you so much for watching my presentation, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.